You're listening to Copy Chief Radio. Get all the episodes and join the community at copychief.com.
Howdy, friends. It's Kev. It's wonderful to talk with you. I want to tell you about something cool I just did as a bit of an experiment in my business and learned a lot. And I want to share those lessons with you. It's about how copywriters and companies connect better and choose to work with each other. It is a two-way street, as you know. And so here's what we did. The program was called The Goods. I hand-selected 25 copywriters to take part in the program. And the goal was, for me and for them, was twofold. I wanted to bring people through a simulation of how it goes down when you are in the final running for a six-figure plus copywriting gig, right? When you are talking to somebody about becoming your main client, things are quite different. First of all, it's a long process compared to these one-offs where you agree to terms and you get to work and it's over in a week or a couple weeks or something. This is typically a months-long interview process, sometimes longer. But that's a good thing because anybody who takes that long to choose who they hire plans to keep paying them for a long time, right? They really want it to go well. You get to learn a lot about each other in that process. So it's really valuable. It's just a different way for a lot of freelance copywriters to think about how they do business. I won't go into all the reasons that having what's sometimes termed as an in-house gig, well, maybe I will touch on that just a little bit. A couple myths I want to break about in-house. A lot of people, freelance copywriters, get really skeeved out by that term in-house. They think, oh my goodness, it's like a W-2 thing, and I'm going to be on a bunch of meetings, and they're going to track my hours. And it's honestly not like that. It just means that if you're in-house with somebody, they're paying you a lot of money, and they're buying up the majority of your time and focus, typically no more than 30 hours a week. And for the most part, companies do not track your hours. It's not about hourly pay at all. They give you the work to do and you get it done however you get it done. They typically do not care. They understand that you're a creative and you have your process. And more, they make less demands other than do great work, be collaborative, be available. But, they respect scope a lot more. A lot of the old problems I used to see with these kinds of positions have gone away, frankly. I think we have just evolved in these relationships, right? Due to the lockdown and people being forced to understand how to work remotely and adjust expectations, really lean things in our favor as freelancers. So that's all good news. And just so you know, do not be scared of that word. It does not mean you lose your freedom. And remember this, you can always say no. Always say no. I can't tell you how many freelancers at first were very skeptical of a position like this, and then had a conversation with the person who was offering the gig, because this is what I do all day, is I put these people in contact with each other, and I say, just talk, have a conversation. And they come away going, oh my goodness, this is amazing. It's kind of a dream come true. You mean I'm going to wake up every day knowing where to spend the bulk of my time, I'm going to be in a collaborative process. I'm always going to see performance data on everything I write, and I'll constantly be improving. I'll be learning how marketing funnels work inside and out. I'll be learning how businesses run, for better or worse, right? Compare that to having very surface relationships with most of your clients, and it's incomparable. So many freelancers I know have gone in-house for 6 months, a year, and say it's the best thing they ever did in their career because they learned their specialty. They learned what they like to write the most. They learned what they don't want to have to write the most. They evolved in their understanding of what a business owner is concerned with. That's a big one, right? It's the difference between having a year-long relationship or 21 night stands. 21 night stands, all you're going to learn about is how to get out of someone's apartment before they wake up. You know, in a relationship, you learn so many things about yourself, about other people, about how relationships go, about what you want and what you don't want. You just learn so much. So anyway, that's the difference. Anyway, that was the point of the goods, okay? I have a lot of companies come to me. I had literally 3 today as I'm recording this. 3 different companies either come to me directly or introduced through somebody else because they need copywriters. Just been doing this a long time, and people in the know in copywriting know if you need copywriters, you go to Kev. It's just what I do. And I love it. And I love making these connections and seeing people flourish. It's how my business has evolved. Okay, back to the goods. All my caveats aside, here's what we did. So hand chose 25 copywriters to come through the goods and not only simulated the process, but had an actual client who was hiring and brought in a very high level copy chief to review the submissions. So the client in this case was Rich Schefren, the Rich Schefren, the guru to the gurus, marketing innovator for the last 20 years, one of the most connected people in the industry. And he was looking for a copywriter. And I said, hey, we're doing this program called The Goods where I'm going to bring people through the process of how to show up and be a top choice for these kinds of positions. Would you like us to make one of your products the writing test, and then you can choose the writers you want to meet? And he was like, that's a dream come true. And I said, awesome, for us too. Let's do it. So Rich was the client, and then Patrick Beauvais played chief for us. Incredibly generous of Patrick. If you don't know about Patrick Beauvais, he is one of the preeminent copy chiefs in the world of financial copywriting. He works at MarketWise, led a team for, I don't know, a decade or more at Legacy Research, has built many copywriters from newbie to what he calls dangerous. He said it typically takes about 3 years for somebody to become dangerous. Dangerous meaning you are knocking it out of the park, writing $1 million plus promos, collecting big royalties. And it takes a lot of, again, dedication and effort on both sides for that to happen between the copywriter and the chief. There has to be a lot of trust. There has to be good collaboration. Clearly, people need to be able to take feedback and implement it well. And so Patrick, get this, reviewed 232 pages of submissions from the writers in this program. Isn't that incredible? And he loved it. He loved it. He had a blast. It was incredible. I love copy too. But if you handed me a document of 232 pages and said, make notes on every one of these submissions, he loved it. So obviously read through them all like twice. Then he made notes on every single submission. And then he chose a top 10 and 6 honorable mentions. Okay. So that's the process we took people through. How to show up, how to communicate. A lot of it was what you might know as soft skills, just things to say, to not say when you're connecting with people, when you're on an interview, just really understanding, how to do a little bit of research before you submit a sample. And here's the big takeaway. The cover letter, and by cover letter, I mean, say you're submitting your writing samples to somebody, whatever you write in the email, introducing your samples to them. That turned out to be one of the most critical elements of any application process, right? Absolutely critical. I could do a whole course just on how to write a great cover letter and put yourself in top position for the gig after doing the goods. And so that's the process we brought people through. Everybody got amazing feedback. Rich was just so blown away, and his COO, Felicia, have said multiple times, I've just never seen anyone do this. I've never been a part of a scenario like this where I get to see 20, it was actually closer to 50 people because all the people in my existing coaching program took part in it as well. So, a group of 50 copywriters all thinking about my product, all wanting to write for me. And it just goes to show how much he wants to get this right? He wants to pick the right person. This is someone he wants to be an integral part of his company that he wants to talk about and feature and kind of make famous within his world. I mean, it's an unbelievable, potentially life-changing opportunity for the right person. So after Patrick made his selections and everybody got notes on their stuff, which on its own was just, you couldn't even purchase that, right? You could not even purchase that. And so then I got on a call with Rich and Felicia, and they had 7 people they had chosen that stood out to them. Interestingly, I think 3 of them were not in Patrick's list, which was interesting because it just goes to show sometimes the person you're writing to is not the one making the decisions. Like, for instance, everything was all about Rich, rightly so. It was his product, and they did a lot of research on Rich. But Felicia is the one making the decision about who they're going to hire. And so one of the things they learned was, I wish I would have learned more about Felicia and addressed her more in my cover letter or in my submission, or understood how she views marketing differently than Rich, perhaps, because she is the person he is trusting to hire this person, and she'll be the one working with them on the copy. So that was a big takeaway. And then they met with all 7, and then they whittled it down to 3. And then each of those 3 had a call with Rich, sort of a get to know you thing. Now they are about to enter into a writing test, paid writing test. And somebody's going to land that gig. And like I said, potentially life-changing opportunity. But beyond that, what was cool was because I have so many companies come to me asking for copywriters, I was able to refer other people from the goods while the goods was going on, right? Because again, I was getting to know them and I would just see natural fits. I always say I only recommend copywriters that I've worked with because I have to know them. I have to know their character. I have to know their strengths, their weaknesses, their tendencies, their niche experience, their skill level, their dedication, their character. I have to know all these things. And if somebody comes into my world via one of these programs, which is rare because, like I said, I kind of hand select people who come into these programs, and they're not somebody that I am comfortable recommending, I will be very honest with them and say, hey, based on this thing, you've got this little quirk. I love difficult conversations. I just think, because if somebody's dedicated and they want to learn and they want to grow, it's no different than taking copy feedback. It's like, hey, you just, for whatever reason, have a tendency to do this thing that's hurting you. I want to help you correct that so it's not standing in your way, because everybody's got quirks and some of them are completely not harmful and even kind of fun. If you're a little neurotic, people expect that from writers, right? But if you're abrasive or you don't seem to get it and you don't know how to connect, that's really the big thing, everybody. It just comes down to connection. If you have trouble connecting with people, and look, I'm an introvert. We're all pretty much introverts, but you got to learn to be that ambivert. You got to practice, if you have to, how to have a connected two-way conversation with somebody. People don't like to feel like somebody's faking it or talking at them or not listening. By the way, there's a fantastic book I highly recommend. You ready? You can write this down. It's called Super Communicators by Charles Duhigg. You may know some of Charles Duhigg's previous work. He's a fantastic writer, does deep research. And Super Communicators is exactly what it sounds like, how to become a super communicator. And it's not that difficult. It really just mostly requires being a good listener. And I know that feels trite, like you've heard that before. But when you hear these examples of how when people go into conversations, differently than they might instinctively, which again is a learned behavior, it is life-changing for both parties. And so, there may be something to chemistry. And you say, oh, we just had good chemistry, or we have no chemistry. That's a real thing. But you can absolutely get through a conversation and get past weird chemistry and find chemistry if you know how to communicate well. So highly recommend that book as a side note, because that's what it really comes down to at the end of the day. If, again, my point was, if somebody has a personality quirk or a skill they need to smooth over when it comes to communicating, I love working on that with people as much as I do their copy, because that's the stuff. We all know stories of some really great copywriters who were challenging people. And, people talk about them and, they love having the stories, but it doesn't mean they enjoyed working with them at the time. They were. And, the difference is when we hear stories about people like that, guess what? There were a lot fewer copywriters back then, a lot less people who could get the job done. And so if one of them was a little difficult to work with, people dealt with it because they still got the result. And that's all that mattered at the end of the day. Today, however, with so many more copywriters in the mix, you don't want to put yourself at a disadvantage of being a challenging person to work with and talk to. So anyway, important. So just all I can say to you for now is just be aware of that. Say you have the credentials and your samples are good and they're relevant to what the person's looking for. And you've had 2 or 3 calls with people and you go, but they're not calling me back or they're choosing other people. What the heck is it? I'm enthusiastic. I'm excited. Then there's something in the way you're communicating that is a little off-putting for them. And if we're seeing it consistently, we need to figure it out and smooth it over. It's not hard to do, but the harder part is recognizing it and accepting it and then smoothing it over. It's not about being fake. It's not about being someone you're not. It's just about a lot of times not doing things you're doing and just do more of the stuff that's going well, right? Save that for your friends and just show up this way for people you work with. All right. So that was the goods. It was just an incredible experience. I think we're going to repeat it again here soon, and I'm going to make some adjustments to it. Because the great thing for me was I have now 25 new copywriters on my radar, in my Rolodex, who I could refer, which, makes everything I do go smoother. I always need more people with different kinds of experience, with different writing abilities, different expertise. Obviously, I have a lot of email copywriters, people who are good at landing pages, some people who are really good at VSLs and video scripts. Always need more ad writers. Always need people who are at the level where they can help with strategy. That's a big thing. If you're wondering, Kev, what should I be working on? Strategy. Find a way to get inside a world, community, or with a client that will expose to you all the numbers, all the things they're doing, what's working, what isn't, how they're adjusting funnels, how they're building funnels, how they're running cold traffic, top of funnel, middle funnel, bottom of funnel, upsell sequences, automation sequences in email, just the whole strategy. That should be your goal. And look, the truth is, if you're not at a point yet where and again, that's my argument for going in-house. When you're in-house, you're going to get paid to learn all that. How's that not the best deal in the world? You're going to get paid really good money to learn everything you need to know about marketing. So you are now officially a marketing expert and can be a strategist. I don't know how that's not the best deal in the world, but nobody needs another person who is just good at one little thing. Those days are fading fast. You've got to really be in it for the long haul and to learn and go deep. And now here's the great thing. You're going, but what am I going to do is because, I'm not at the level yet or I haven't learned yet how to land clients who will give me that kind of access. Okay, 2 things you can do. Number 1 is you can make friends with people who are at that level where they do have that access, and you can find some way collaborate with them or just become friends and ask them good questions. And maybe you have something you can offer them as well, right? Anybody who really wants to learn doesn't stop it, but how? They go find a way. The other thing you can do, though, is you can go deep through people's funnels just by buying one product from them. So pick a market that you would love to write for. Pick a couple of companies that use direct response marketing. Buy one of their top of funnel products and see how the funnel plays out. And take notes and put things in folders and collect it and dissect it. It's the next best thing to actually being in the mix. Yes, you'll have some guesswork and things you wonder about. But guess what? If you really study a company and their marketing and their approach and all the stuff they send, and then you approach them with some good questions, who else would they want to talk to about potentially writing their copy than someone who has already been studying their funnels and has genuine curiosity and intelligent questions for them about how they're doing what they're doing. And I'm not talking about some BS cold outreach where it's like, if you were doing this, no, nobody wants to be told from an outsider what they should be doing, because there's no way you could possibly know why they're making the decisions they are. I promise you, whatever you're assuming about why they're doing some things and not others is wrong. They may have tried it. They may not have tried it. They may be against it. They're getting advice. They have mentors. They have masterminds they're in. They have different information than you. Or they don't have the bandwidth to do those things, and it's not as easy as flipping a switch. So don't armchair advise anybody ever. That is not ever a good approach to getting in with somebody. But being interested, being curious, being a fan of their product and their approach and their voice, and then just asking good questions. Maybe you'll ask a question that hits a sore spot or makes them think or makes them curious about why you ask. And then you'll be invited to share what you know about that thing. You see the difference there? Genuine curiosity and being plugged in with a company who's doing marketing is flattering, and done correctly allows you to ask them good questions and potentially form a relationship. Trying to kick their door in like one of these Hustler University, what is it? Oh my God, those guys. Wow. Don't be that. Do not be that, please. That's going to go away soon, and not a minute too soon. So that's what I wanted to share with you. I hope it was valuable. I know I was a bit all over the place. I just wanted to talk through what's fresh on my mind, because this program was incredible. The engagement was through the roof. Every single person showed up to every call. The reviews were just over the moon. Because again, when else do you ever get to be in the room with people who are making decisions on 6-figure plus opportunities and understand what they care about? We did interviews with Rich. We had Paris come on and talk about what he looks for in copywriters that he works with. We had Fran Rangel, who has the most diligent copywriting selector process I've ever seen in my life. And they got to be in the room with these people, hear from them, understand their perspective. And it was very eye-opening for everybody. And every single person who went through that program is in such a better position to step up, stand out, and be a top choice for any of these positions, and know how to go through the process when they get there. So it was really great. You'll be hearing more about it. It was really a bit of a shift in my business for me. It was the first time I've always wanted to create sort of a laboratory environment like this, right? Or like an incubator. We're all just going through this process together, and everybody's learning about how it works best and their instincts compared to other people's instincts. That's the best coach you can have, is being immersed with your peers who are going after the same goal and seeing how they instinctively approach it compared to you. Like, that is more of an education than any course you could take where people just tell you information. I mean, don't you find that when you just consume something, there's no room in your brain for it. There's just way too much information we're consuming these days for most of that to stick. The only things that stick are when you have a stake in what you're learning or what you're doing. Think about it, right? Like, if you wanted to learn jujitsu, you could read about it, you could watch videos, you could learn the terminology, you could learn who some of the best in the world are. You could learn all that, but you'd have zero idea how to get somebody to the ground and tap them out until you started rolling with people, period. There's just absolutely no way you could do it until you got on the mat. That's just how learning goes anymore. You have to be mentally and physically involved and engaged in the process for you to advance in a skill. I think that's one of the big changes we're seeing in the industry right now. People are wondering, why does my $2,000 course not sell anymore? Because it's just videos and people are on TikTok and YouTube all day. The last thing I want to do is watch your videos, pay $2,000 to watch your videos when there's no room in their head for them to use more information. And people go, well, but it's so valuable. And if people use it, yeah, I'm sure. I have all those courses too. But I understand why people aren't buying pure information anymore, because they just know the last thing they need is more pure information. They need guidance, engagement, and they need to be brought into a room that they otherwise could not get into and through an experience that they otherwise could not have. If you take nothing else from this episode, next time somebody asks you, what's going on in the info product space, and I just told you. That's the difference. And frankly, I'm delighted because in my whole 10 years of Copy Chief, everything has been interactive and hands-on. And I've always seen so much higher participation and results, real life results for people when I take them through a program rather than when they just consume the information. I have people who have watched every single training in Copy Chief, a lot of people, and there's 50 plus. They're smart people and they, I'm sure, apply what they need and they did grow, but I'm not sure I still know exactly what they do necessarily, right? Because they're just really good at taking a lot of information. But what I try to do in my programs is help people decide, what do I have that nobody else has? What is my unique copywriting DNA? And that's a culmination of everything you are. This is more than ever a human business, copywriting. I'm going to say that again because it sounds counterintuitive. This is more than ever a human business because everybody knows what the bots can do. Everybody has an idea of what the bots are going to get better at. Everybody who cares and relies on copy is very clear on what the bots cannot do. And that is the human stuff. That is connecting. That is nailing voice, telling good stories. I mean, come on. There was a guru recently who sent an email and I'm reading it and I'm like, what happened here? Like, did he sell his company? This is a completely different voice and approach that I've ever seen him use. Of course, the punchline at the bottom of the email was, this entire email was written by my amazing AI. And I'm like, it's not amazing, because all I could see was strangely void of humanity copy. And I smelled it this first sentence in. Anyway, I won't go down the rabbit hole. But if you are a human who enjoys being human and likes to be human with other humans, you're in good shape. And you're a copywriter who's dedicated to the craft. And you know what? Hey, you can still start in copywriting. And in some ways you'll have an advantage because just like my kids have a major advantage in technology over me because they've grown up with it. It's been in their hands since they were 12, 13 years old. And I did not have that experience. I'm glad for my experience where I didn't have that thing in my face most of my life. But if you're learning to write copy with AI as a tool that you use from the get-go, and you're also a very human person who understands how and what connects, then whatever that hybrid becomes as it advances, you'll be at the forefront of. So that's not a bad thing either. But it just comes down to this. You have to love the craft first, and you have to understand the fundamentals of copywriting that will never change, which is just the fundamentals of sales, really, because the platforms change and how we format things change due to how people communicate, and styles change and they trend out. Remember impact font? Every headline deck was impact font. If you've been around as long as me, it was awful. But everything looked like that. And then one day everybody was like, this is now a red flag instead of an exciting thing for people to experience. So you can get started in copywriting still, but it's all about the human stuff first, and get to know your tools and your toys, but let them supplement what you do as a human being, because that is always going to be the primary value of copy. All right? Okay. I have told you too much already, so I'm gonna go. I really enjoyed hanging out with you. I hope this was useful. If you have any feedback or comments or questions for me, I am always listening at kevin@copychief.com. That's my personal email. You can reach me there anytime. It may take me a minute to get back to you because I do get a lot of emails, but I love hearing from you. So if you ever want to reach out to me, do it. Email me. All right? I will see you on the next one. We got some really cool episodes coming up. So I appreciate you, and talk soon. Bye. Hey, don't forget your goodies. Head over to copychief.com/copychiefradio to get some great free stuff to help you put the things you hear on the show into action for your business. copychief.com/CCR.